what are you doing?
Daddy, daddy, daddy.
You're messing.
Daddy, daddy.
Yeah.
Daddy. Daddy.
So I just figured I'd show you all that before I cover it all up. I'm about to run my burn down tubes. Put these little pieces right here so that you can run a zip tie through them to keep your burn down tubes secure in the center, and they'll come up and tie into your puke tank right here. So I'm about to go ahead and run them while all this is out, because that's what makes it easy to tighten these guys down while this is all out of the car, which really it has to come back out again because we still have to do the whatchamacallit, the vent, because I think we're going to come up through the deck lid. Y'all comment, let me know what you think about that. I have the aluminum, and we kind of put a pause on that because we were going to come out of the puke tank and do a 90 down through the floor, you know, where it vented under the car. But I kind of don't mind it coming out of the deck lid either. Like a lot of race cars, it just can't go in the center. But we talked about that in some other videos, and some people gave some different ideas. Some people said go through the gas cap, which would be pointless because the puke tank's right here, so you'd be coming out, going over all the way around the fire bottle and everything to the gas cap. It would look clean, but there'd be a lot of piping underneath here. So if we're not coming through the deck lid, then we're just going to 90 straight out down through the floor where nobody can see it. But again, I'm not opposed to the deck lid. It would basically come up and go like that, and it'd probably be up here in this corner. It really wouldn't be centered. So I don't think it would be practical to center it, being the puke tank is right there. So puke tank's like right here. So centered would be, you know, way over here. So that would be kind of stupid to run aluminum pipe all the way over there because of the way the trunk's laid out. So I'm curious to see what y'all think, or even, as I say, we've got some burn down tube left over. We got some flexible burn down tube left over. So even though I ordered that solid aluminum stuff, so we could even pull this thing back out and weld another bung in it. I have them already into the front, and could do the flex line now, just like that stuff right there. We could screw it into the puke tank over here and then run the flex line to the center out the top. So I'm not gonna go to the gas cap, because like I said, if I'm gonna run that line and then go to the gas cap where you can't see it, then I see no point in running that line all over top of all this stuff when I can just go straight down into the wheel area behind there. So let me know what you think. Should we, because I mean, I can literally build a fitting that would vent right out the center right there with the burn down tube, or go straight down. Drop some input down below what y'all think we should do with this car with the burn down tube so that it vents. But I'm gonna get these other pieces in. I just took the panel. So this is the panel, nutserted it, drilled that side out. This is the one that stands up the firewall. It bolts in right there. All of them are nutserts in all of that piece right there. And then our, you know, deck lid, or not deck lid, our speaker deck package tray back here goes right here. And y'all some people in the other videos said that y'all know me, that I would clean up this edge, that I'm OCD. Look at that edge. I haven't cleaned that edge up. I took a hand file to it to make sure that there was no sharp edges that's going to completely tear you up, even though it's still really sharp in some areas. But I didn't clean up that edge. I didn't actually have time that night, so it's still rough cut, but it gets covered up, so I ain't worried about it. But told y'all I'm not OCD, man. Y'all think I'm OCD, but I'm not that bad. But I'm going to get these pieces put in. I just wanted to show y'all that real fast. We got our back panel put in. That's what everything looks like. When everything's installed, burn down hoses ran up through there. All the nutserts are in. So like I said, these back panels you've seen are removable. So there's the old holes, can't do nothing about that. But there's our new stuff. I'm happy with the way it turned out. I think it looks good. Just didn't like doing the work, that's all. Now what we're actually gonna do underneath here is, when we take it back to the shop, we're gonna go from that top 4-link bar right there. We'll probably come about right here with another bar that will run this way, and it will tie into this bar that runs across the chassis. So it will basically shoot back just like that to that bar, and we're gonna tie both sides in like that because you know, like I said in my video, I thought it might need some more, and then the more I thought about it, got a couple of y'all's input, and I agree with y'all 100%. We need to get some more bracing to the top of that 4-link. So when it goes back to the shop, me and Mike are going to throw one bar in on each side and run it back to the shock mounts, which the shock mount is literally a tube that goes from one side of the chassis to the other. It is Saturday night, and I have not really updated y'all much this weekend at all. I put all the back seat stuff back together the other night and then took it all back apart. Well, I just took the top piece back off right here. So the top piece that goes up there, took that off because I got underneath the car, started to run the lines back, because you remember we took all the lines down for to do all the work underneath the car. So I spent like a couple hours a day buttoning up underneath the car, and when I went to run the lines back, I was like, crap, we never ran the fuel return line. So if you remember back in the videos when we did the fuel lines, we ran the feed line, got that done, and then we never ran the return line because that's when, about that time is when I knew I was changing the 4-link, and I just decided to leave it hanging. So I didn't have enough line to go like back here to the back of the car and then up into the trunk and to the fuel cell. So what I did is I actually went up through the new 10-piece that I built, but behind the firewall, the backseat firewall. So it comes up through the floor right here. And let's see here, it comes up right here. Okay, comes up through the floor and it goes up here. And then I'm gonna take y'all's as advice. So somebody said don't put the fuel return near the fuel pump because it could cavitate, and to actually move it up here. So I had the vent over here on this side. We're gonna move the vent to that side, and I just ordered a 90 to step this down, because this is like a -10, I believe, and it needs to step to an 8. So we're just gonna put a 90 on it like that. It will come in the floor. I do have a rubber piece down there to protect it, and I'm gonna also pump that hole down there full of silicone to seal it up airtight, but that's just going 90 into there. So the fuel turn is gonna be up here in the top, because the fuel cell is a little sloped back. So the fuel return is gonna go in here, and you know the fuel pump on the 15-gallon fuel cell is way over there, and then we got the fuel pump underneath the car. So that's about it. I ran the burn down tubes all nice and neat. Besides that, there's not really nothing changed in here, but I did fight with some of the nuts and bolts on that. We come up here to the front to start addressing some of our clearance issues. So what we had going on, if you recall, if you followed the other videos, is after I buttoned all this up, my coolant lines that come out of the front of the motor was hitting the Procharger belt. So when we originally did these lines, we didn't have the Procharger belt on here, and yeah, so stuff changes. This is the part about building a custom car. So it was running down there to the water pump. Where's the water pump at? There we go. So moving more stuff, making more changes. So it's no longer going to go there. My thoughts right now, and if you remember, if you follow along, then you know that we had a dash 20 coming out of the radiator, curving down, wrapping all around, twisting up, and going into the water pump here. We are now over here. So this is actually going to work out better, I think. So what we're going to do is I'm about to order some more Brown and Miller lines, the same ones, black with the gold crimps with the blue fittings on them. And if this motor, when this motor comes out a year after we run it, we're probably going to freshen it up and change the rods in it. I'm going to paint the block actually blue to, you know, like Ford blue to match all these fittings and everything. I'm not going to stay with the gold. So, but we're basically going to run the lines out like that, and then they're basically going to kill in like that. So they're going to do like that, and they will clear that belt perfectly fine, and then we'll make sure they're up. But they'll actually come out and go up a little according to the measurements that I'm ordering. And dude, they're not expensive at all. I'll go over the price with you whenever I get them in, but these Brown and Miller lines are really good price since they're used, and they're nice. But now we're going to change it where we 90 out of here, and the line kind of runs straight and 90s into here. So it's gonna be a 90, straight shot 90. Fortunately, I don't have to cut any of my line. If you remember, we had, these are all my different hoses. I wanted to use this crimped line that we bought. If you follow the channel, you remember when I bought that line. But I couldn't really get it to bend like I wanted. I mean, I could get it to bend, but it didn't right. So right now, this long line has a 90 on it. This is the line we're going to use, but this side has a 45 on it. This is one to wrap way around. This is the line that we damaged. If you remember, we had to issue it a fitting. We did a video on getting that out. So we're simply going to pull that 90 off that side and throw it over there. So 90, 90. I got all the pieces. Cost me nothing at all to make that change. Besides the coolant lines that had to be changed anyway because they're hitting the belt. But I don't think I'm even going to spend, let's see here, 30, 40, like 50, 60 bucks on Brown & Miller lines, I believe, about. I'm waiting for the seller to accept my offer, hopefully. So that's what we come down here to kind of work on. We're going to move on now to fix this issue. So if you've been following the channel also, you know that my control arms, as you can see, they run uphill. The control arms run uphill, the steering tie rods run uphill and everything. The car was built with everything perfectly level, beautifully geometry when the car was built. But then I got interested in no prep stuff, realized that 2-inch drop spindles, when you're using 2-inch drop spindles, you're actually losing 2 inches of travel. So the center of the wheel, let's see here, 2-inch drop spindle, it drops it down 2 inches. So it starts here. That lifts the body up, okay? Meaning that you're losing 2 inches of travel already in it I actually picked up a lot of this off Mac TV. So if you haven't checked them guys out, check them guys out. But you're basically already losing 2 inches. So if you go up here, then you have more travel because now it can fall, the wheel can fall all the way down here versus if you're starting here on a 2-inch drop spindle, you know, if this is moved down 2 inches, then it can basically travel down 2 less inches, but it lowers the car 2 inches. And on the no prep, that's the reason why a lot of guys sit so high in the front, because they're all worried, you know, they're focused on a lot of travel. But now we know we're not doing back at the track no prep. I have zero interest in it, pretty much. So we might be doing the front of the track no prep, but I'm not that worried about it. So I know John Dock and all them, LS Nasty, he runs a bunch of his cars with 2-inch drop spindles. So I am changing it. We have got in the mail. This is actually, do y'all want a fun fact? This is actually the 3rd set of spindles that this car has had. The 3rd, you heard that correct. 3. Harper's toys are everywhere. So we are switching back again to regular spindles, but the spindles that I had the first time were actually some, let's see here, they were some knockoffs. That wouldn't even bolt up to the strange brakes. So when I got the strange brakes in, that was the issue I had, is that you had to run like the Chinese knockoff crap. They're set up to do it. So I'm gonna check this out, see what's all going on here. I don't recall mine having these. I don't know what goes there. Hopefully my bracket works on these, man. That's gonna suck if my strange brackets don't work. I'm guessing the brakes bolt up to these, if I remember correctly. I don't know. So anyway, I'm gonna figure it out. Or maybe they go like that. I don't freaking know. I gotta figure it out. Gotta look into them and get them changed out. So that's what I'm about to do, is lift the car up, take the wheels off. I don't know if I can take much of this apart tonight because I can't be doing much beating and banging because Harper's asleep. But I'm gonna at least try to get some of this knocked out. But the goal here is to get the steering rack, the lower control arms, hopefully back better, because when I changed to the regular ride height spindles and lowered the car down, that's where I developed all these issues. So let me get at it and I will update y'all and show you how everything turned out after I get these swapped over. And I will actually show you the side-by-side comparison when I get one off. All right, so here is the drop spindles. Of course, nothing bolts right on. And I was about to be like, man, I gotta send these things back, but I think I just got to modify it. So here's what's going on. There's the factory one, or this is the factory style, factory height Mustang 2 spindle. Nothing special. It is forged steel or whatever. You've got these 2 holes right here, and then you got these. Your brake caliper bracket bolts into one of these. I can't remember. I think this one. It bolts into this one, and this one. Okay, and then the bracket kind of sits. It runs uphill, kind of at a 45 off of the spindle. All right. Everything bolts right on. It worked perfect with the Strange kit. Everything went right on. But this one does not go right on. Let me take this hub back off real fast. So what we have is these two bolts go in there, and that's what I had the hub on to make sure that this was centered around it. But this one does not. Now, here's the catch. This one kind of has, you know, that place where it's like should be there. And then it even has, okay, it goes through right there. So if you come around the back, like it would be like it would go straight through there. But there's nothing drilled there. So the hole is actually moved down to here. Okay, so there's a hole, there's a hole. So the hole is moved down to here. So I guess what I'm gonna do, and also this puts the brake caliper bracket, instead of being at a 45, you know, like this, off of the top of your spindle, it puts it, no, yes, camera was wrong. So the camera's like this. So it kind of puts it at a 90, okay? There you can see the top, we'll roll it. Okay, so that kind of puts the top of the bracket at a 90, whereas on the other one, it kind of runs uphill more. So that's pretty decently 90 now that I'm looking at it. So I'm guessing that that hole is not there because on this one, it's over here and it's like turned, but the way this one is designed, I don't know. I mean, if you drilled that hole, that would go right through the main meat of the spindle, and I don't know if that's the best idea. But I think it's just an easy fix. I mean, I think that all I'm going to do is just take this and come on the back side, mark it right there in the aluminum, and I'll just drill the aluminum. And of course, it feels like the freaking bolts are not the same. I'm hoping that the threads just need to be cleaned out, like they're full of paint and stuff, which they probably are. But yeah, I think that's going to be the fix. I think I'm just going to drill this aluminum plate. I mean, it's literally just a brake caliper bracket, so it's not like it's some crazy thing. This is for the right side. You know, it shows you inboard. I mean, you can't really get this stuff wrong, but if you rotate it, like, it doesn't line up ever. Them two holes down there right now, them two in the bottom I showed you lined up, but there's no way to line anything else up. So that has to be it. Well, see, them two almost line up, but then of course your bracket's not centered. So we're just gonna drill it because all we have to do is drill one hole in this. I don't think that's a big deal. And I do know for a fact that when I first started learning about brakes, if you're new to the channel, somebody might disagree with me. I don't know, hopefully not. Everybody says it don't matter which way at all your calipers are indexed. Some people believe that it matters where the caliper sits at, and it does not, because all the caliper does is grab a rotating wheel. So the caliper don't care where it grabs it at. What does make a difference is sometimes where it's sitting at makes it hard to bleed. So I can't remember if that was like on the bottom or on the top or whatever, the article I was reading, but you can put it in a certain position where it makes it hard to bleed. I just can't remember why, so I don't want to speak on it right now, but I do know that going from here to here, you know, or even from here to like here is not going to make a difference. So we're going to drill this bracket and get these spindles on. I don't think I'm going to be able to do that tonight because I cannot be banging really on these, my bump steer pieces, and beating these control arms off of this. Man, I'm getting grease every freaking where, because if I wake that baby up, I'm not going to have a happy wife. These are like your bottom of your arms. See, and I'll put this on the bench here in a second, but it comes straight off, whereas this one has a little bit of height in it. That's how it moves it up. So the ones on there now, I'll show you when they're on the bench, but basically the bottom of this comes straight off of here, and it's up there. So that's how this is dropped down 2 inches, which pushes your wheel up 2 inches, pushes your wheel up 2 inches in the fender, which lowers everything, the whole entire car down. So at least now I have regular ride height spindles and drop spindles. So if something don't work, it can easily be changed over. So the hub units I got while this is all apart, because some of y'all, I got all this before I even was doing the channel. So this is all strange. These are brand new and they're just covered in crap. I'm gonna clean them all up, reset the lock lugs if they need it, because I'd put Loctite on them, but I don't know if they bit. They were turning. Anyway, these were all brand new, strange, lightweight brakes that I put on the front to drop like 80 pounds or something. It was ridiculous the amount of weight I dropped. The amount that this rotor weighs is so much lighter than what was on there. I mean, what was on there, it took 2 hands to pick up. It was god awful, the cheap, heavy cast crap that was on there. But that's that for right now. As soon as I get one off, get it on the bench, I'll show you. And then we're gonna put it all together. We're gonna finalize everything. And then we're actually going to be bleeding the brakes here really soon to get the brake system right. All right, so here's the two spindles side by side. So you can see, actually, to my surprise, because I didn't remember this from the first one, is that the steering is pretty much the same height, which that makes sense, you know. I mean, what will change is the angle of the control arms, which should change the angle of the steering, obviously. But you can obviously see that on a 2-inch drop spindle right here, they moved the spindle up 2 inches, dropping the whole vehicle. And then you can see how on the factory ride height spindle right here, how you have more at the top than you do on this one. So that's the differences. Overall, the spread of the height appears to be obviously the same, which it would have to be, but they just move, you know, the actual mounting plate up. They got more meat around the bottom on this one than this one is cut off. So that's what's also going to affect our differences in our plate. You can see how this one has a hole here but nothing here, but then these two holes are the same over there. They're just indexed a little bit different as far as like this one's here and then this one's more like that, and then that hole, you know, is going to be right there on this one. So basically all we're missing is that one is more narrow than the spread on this one. So don't really make sense because it feels like they could have put it here. But I guess if they would have done that, then maybe it would have been right over top of the steering. I don't know the reasoning for that or the differences. But I also don't know why this is added. This one goes through here like this, and then this one goes through here like this, because you actually don't use this bolt on my setup. So little bits of differences in them, but that's what they are. 2-inch drop spindle versus factory ride height Mustang 2. So what we're doing now is, being I dropped the car 2 inches, we're going to run in our jack bolt at least 1.5 inches. Now I can obviously tighten up my springs, being that they're adjustable shocks. But then when you do that, which I don't have nothing set up, we're going to pay to get everything set up. But obviously when you run the springs up, that changes the amount of shaft that is out of the actual shock body itself, because you're running that up. So that's going to just change. It's going to change stuff on the spring. You know what I'm trying to say. Whereas this right here doesn't change anything on the spring. This literally just changes the ride height of the car. So I'm going to do 1.5 inches because I don't want to have the whole jack bolt sticking out. And then if we need to go up with the car a little bit more, then we'll probably tighten the spring up. All right, so we got the drop spindles put on. I still have a lot to mess with on height and figuring all that out. I don't want to do too much because, as I said in the previous videos, we're going to pay a shop to do all the alignment and scaling. So it kind of defeats the purpose, you know. But if you look at that side, you can tell we're definitely way better than we were a minute ago. But if you look at this side, which is turned up more accurate, it's way better. As you can see, this line's just sitting there, so it's not on the ground. But if you look, you see how much the coil spring is ran up on that side versus this side. The coil spring's not really ran up. So that's all it is. I've just got to run the coil spring up some more on this side, and then I still need to get it off of blocks. You don't want to worry too much right now because you got to get it off blocks so you can kind of double check your ride height, because right now it looks like our ride height should be somewhere about right in here, you know. So we definitely still need to put skis underneath here. Need to build some little at least 4-inch skis so that none of the car actually ever hits the track or hits a speed bump or anything. Make sure we got something to hit it, but we got to get that ride height right first before we worry about, you know, too much of the alignment. So sadly it needs to come back off of the crib blocks and go back on the ground, but at least I'm happy with how it's back sitting. This is how the car was built, you know. So this whole time I've been kind of telling y'all that I promised the car was built you know, that the geometry wasn't like that and this and that and all that, and just never, you know, you kind of had to take my word for it. Nobody ever questioned me. But that just goes to show you that originally when this car was built on 2-inch drop spindles, I had it right. Tie rod's right, lower control arm right, everything horizontal. I mean, look at that. That is beautiful, man. Beautiful. That's how it was before I went messing with everything and adding, you know, regular ride height back to it. And that just shows you how bad, you know, changing just spindles alone can throw all of the geometry off.